Mostafa, welcome to the show, brother.
Thank you for having me.
And it's great. We just did your podcast the other day, did a live, which was really fun. And returning the favor, here we are. So glad to have you here on the Jesse T Show. We're excited to share your story, your journey, your mission with the world, and highlight the amazing human being you are. So if you could just give a little context to the listeners and viewers, who you are, what you've done, and a little bit about your backstory.
Well, thank you for having me first. It's a pleasure always to hang out with you, and I think you're one of the few people that I connected with instantly, like within a few minutes. So it's always good to hang out with people, with you and people like yourself.
Likewise.
My name is Mostafa, and I specialize in helping coaches, consultants, and experts create and implement their one-page marketing plan in 7 days or less. What else do you want me to cover?
That's powerful. Hold on. We can start there because we'll get into the other details about your background, your story, things you've seen and been through. But just in terms of one-page marketing plan in 7 days or less, can you talk to the idea behind that, where that came from? It sounds so powerful to be able to whittle that down in such a short amount of time to one page, and what that means and what that looks like for the people that you help with that.
So the problem we solve is the fact that most people that we work with are poking around at different marketing ideas, tools, systems, softwares, and programs. So they got in their heads into 12 different things at the same time. And that is causing a lot of frustration, confusion, anxiety, and depression because of the fact that they're not seeing results and they're dealing and facing failure on a daily basis. So what we do is we basically help them simplify their activities, create a plan, set a direction, set a goal so they know what they want, and then create a strategic plan on how to get there. And so life becomes simple, and it becomes doable, because usually we think about things and plan in our head, but it's not down on a piece of paper or on a maybe Word document or something. And it becomes hard to do when it's up in the air.
You know, you're talking to someone who has been in business off and on for his whole life. And my most recent company, for more than the last 3 years. And before I got into where I'm at now, and through the podcast and through some other things I'm doing, I was that person who was jumping from marketing strategy to marketing strategy, especially as a financial, planner. Financial planners are generally, unless they make the jump to like where I've been able to get to, like a lot of times they're really just chasing down that next sale. They're chasing down that next client, and they'll do any and everything to try to find that client, from direct mail to buying leads to getting plate lickers to come eat steaks at their seminars to all these different things. And nothing's really tried and true. And so I find it very fascinating and interesting. I want to hear more from you, the expert, on, if you're giving the secret sauce away, don't do that. But at the same time, like, how are you able to get people to that road of clarity where it's a one pager, but then also like get the results?
How do we do it?
Yeah. Like what's the process, or like, what are you doing to help them? And how do people stop chasing all these? Because a lot of times people spend a ton of money and it gets them nowhere on marketing. A lot of people, they don't understand Facebook ads, and they'll throw money at Facebook ads because that's what Gary Vee told them to do. And they have no idea what they're doing. And I love Gary Vee, he's great, but like there's people that just take information and they don't know what they're doing. So how are you able to support them in choosing the right things that work best for them and their company?
For sure. So our boot camp goes for 6 days, and it's about 3 hours a day. And each day we cover one aspect of their plan. And there are the following 6 aspects. Day 1 is goal setting. Day 2 is target market and specialty. So who do you serve and what exactly do you do for them? Day 3, we work on the offer. What is it that you offer to them? And day 3 is lead generation. How do we find those people? Day 4 is lead conversion. How do we turn them into an actual paying customer? And day 6 is customer retention. How do we keep them, have them come back and get referrals from them? In our system, these are the six important aspects of their one-page marketing plan. And so during the class, I read this book, The One Thing, I think is the title.
Great book.
Amazing book. And so I asked that question about the marketing activities. So the question is, what is one lead generation strategy that I should focus on in the next 90 days so that by doing it, everything else becomes easier or unnecessary. And so I always ask my students saying, pick one lead generation strategy, get it to work, optimize it, improve it. And once it's working, then start something new. Because again, what happens is they're like you said, someone says, Facebook ads are great. They start getting on Facebook. Then someone shows up and says, if you do YouTube videos, it's amazing and you're going to get $1 million. So, and then they start that afternoon looking into YouTube.
Yeah.
So what we say is create your lead generation strategies or projects for the year and take them, stab at them 90 days at a time. Like if something is not working or quite where we want it to be, we're not going to start a new project.
You know, that's beautiful because there's another book that landed with me a couple of years ago called The 12-Week Year. And the 12-week year lands right within that 90-day bucket where most people that set goals and they set targets for the year, they set it for 12 months. And it's really easy to get off track, fall behind. But if you break your year down into 4 quarters or 90-day stretches or runs or the 12-week year, you can really focus a lot more intently. And if you do that thing and if you stay on that one task for 90 days, it goes back to that old cliche, which the timing on it's changed, but it's true. It used to be 21 days to create a habit, and then it's more like 60 days to create a habit. But if you do something in one thing for 90 days, I really feel like you're going to be, you know, way ahead of where you should be versus chasing the shiny object and like a squirrel running around, and you have to be focused. So it sounds like you have a system that you've developed, that you've put together these 6 days with the 7th day being the deliverable of the marketing plan. What are some of the wins that you've experienced yourself from doing this, and maybe some like the clients that you've helped? Like, what are some of the things they've seen from being able to go through this program with you?
So some of the wins that people like just starting day one to start having aha moments on day one, even setting their goals and knowing exactly what they want. One of the things that we work on is the fact that you need to have your goals in terms of the number of people that you need to help and serve, so that the financial goal is a natural byproduct of your main goal.
Yep.
So dollars are not your main goal. So that way you're not looking at your customers or prospects as dollar signs. When you look at them that way, it's hard to sell. They pick it up and it's a hard conversation. But when your intent and purpose is to help them and serve and support them, money comes in naturally, right? It's a different way of looking at it. It's a lot easier and healthier way to, because here's the deal. If you tell people to come up with $1 million, they're probably going to have a hard time to come up with $1 million.
Yep.
But if you say, think about how you can find 30 people that will result in $1 million, it's a lot easier to find 30 people than it is to. So that mindset shift for a lot of our students is a massive shift on defining the number of people that they need to reach their financial goal. So they get really happy with that. Just putting everything on one sheet of paper, people are like, oh my God, I was pretty frustrated and, you know, I didn't know what to do for my business, but now I have one page that I printed, put it on the wall in front of me, and I look at it every day, and, you know, we could get it done. And like we have students that have been trying to like run a program or, you know, gets a project done for like months and years. And now within 3 months of being with us and working with us, the program is up and running. The projects are getting done because they're focusing on that one thing. You know.
So powerful when all your focus and intention and energy and effort goes towards that one thing, and versus being distracted. So where was the muse for this for you, and the iteration to like the conception and all that stuff to come up with this idea? Where did that come from? Was it something that you were getting frustrated with in your own business, your own life, and you created this? Like, were you taught this? Like, where did this come from to be able for you to be like turn this into part of your life's work?
So I've been in this coaching, consulting, and marketing world for the past 10 years. I started a marketing agency, and we were doing marketing for a lot of different companies and different industries and niches and different places. So what I experienced was the fact that I was trying to serve a lot of people, serve as many people as I could, without a specialization or a niche market, which was pretty difficult even to find customers. And then our own activities were all over the place. And when it's like that, it's pretty frustrating, and it's very depressing at the end of the day.
Yeah.
You know, you have to deal with a million different things and nothing is working. And here's the major frustration. And the statement or the inner talk is as follows. I am giving this my all. I'm doing everything I can, all the courses, you know, reading, trying, testing my morning routine, my evening routine and all that. And I'm not still seeing results.
Yep.
And so back in 17 or so, I read two books that were like life-changing. One was Essentialism by Greg McKeown, and the other one was The 80-20 Principle by Richard Koch.
Yep.
So these two, when I read it, I'm like, okay, what is it that we need to do that is like the essentials of marketing? Once you figure this out, everything else just makes it easier. So that's why I came out with the one-page plan, and I'm like, it has to be simple. It can't be a 50 or 100-page marketing plan, which they usually are, and they're collecting dust somewhere. I'm like, it has to be on one page. So that's the onset of the idea and the story behind that.
So I've been into essentialism on the personal side, and just the way I operate my life on the personal side. It's incredible what frees up for you when it's the one thing. It's the essentialism. It's that singular focus, that laser focus. Everything else, and then if you can cater that singular thing to, like, you know, build the life or business you want to build, I mean, everything else kind of just falls in place around it. It's really unique how that works.
Absolutely.
So what were you doing before the last 10 years of marketing? Like, what's your story? What's, you know, some of the things that you've been able to build or overcome or experience that have shaped you into where you are today?
So I grew up in a family where finances were always a problem. My dad was an employee. He would work from, you know, 5, 6 in the morning, come back late in the evening. So I didn't see a lot of my dad growing up when I was young. And I had two sides to my family. My mom's side were all the entrepreneurs and all the business people, and my dad's side were all the academics and the employee mindsets. And so I remember I was about 5 or 6 years old when I started noticing that people on my dad's side are working really hard, including my dad, but they don't have a lot to show for. And people on my mom's side, some of them worked hard, some of them didn't work as hard, but they had a lot more to show for it. Like the quality of their life, their lifestyle, their homes, their vehicles, their vacation homes, and, you know, financials and the rest of it were different. So I think I was about 5 or 6 years old when I set my mind to grow up and run my own business.
Wow.
And I went to school. I immigrated to Canada from Iran, so I'm Iranian Canadian. When I came to Canada, I did not speak English, started taking English classes, went to school for engineering, did 2.5 years of engineering, didn't quite like it. And I went back to English business school, and I absolutely loved it, which was my lifelong mission to, you know, become a businessman and an entrepreneur. So I got a diploma in marketing management and a bachelor's degree in business management with a minor in marketing. Now, back in 2007, I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. And Robert basically, I guess you read that book?
Very familiar with that book. You're telling me about all these pinnacle, like, life-changing books. It's incredible.
Yeah. So he basically helped me confirm my ideas that I've been running with them for a lifetime of, I like the entrepreneurship route better than working for someone else. And the fact that, you know, a degree doesn't really matter too much to me. And it, you know, as long as you can hang out with people, be a great communicator, and have a vision and all that a business owner needs, that's all that matters to me, really, at the end of the day. So with that, I started back in the day, I started a construction company when I was in school. We did painting and renovation. Then I dropped that off with the crash of 2008. We just basically got wiped out.
Yep.
And then I started an IT company, ran with that for a while. And then in 2010, I started my marketing agency. So fast forward, I ran the agency for a while. We dropped the agency services and decided to stick to coaching and consulting, because back in 2017, I read 0 to 1 from Peter Thiel.
Yep.
Have you read that book?
I know who Peter Thiel is, but I haven't read the book.
Anyway, so in the books, Thiel says competition is for losers. And that statement really resonated with me. I'm like, oh God, because I was in a hyper competitive environment doing digital marketing services. It's like people wake up in the morning and they're like, I'm a digital marketing advisor. Let me show people how to do this, this, and that.
There's a lot of disciples of like guys like Ty Lopez and Frank Kern who, you know, they're good for what they do. But there's a lot of people that'll go take a course and then come out and charge $5,000 a month for something. It's like, what? Did you have any experience with any of those guys coming up? Like, did you see any of that stuff, or like, how did you actually get into it?
Exactly. So I'm like, and people do that every day. And I'm like, the barriers to entry into this market is pretty low. And I got to get out of this, because I was competing with people in my city, my province, my country, and every country around the world, and competing with Google and Facebook themselves. So I'm like, you know what? I got to get out of this. So I took a month or two and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to focus on coaching, consulting, and that's what I did. Now, let me fast forward to the last year for me. That's been pretty transformational. Last year around this time, I was under a lot of stress, both with my business, with finances, and with family. Okay. So business was not doing as good as I wanted it to. I had some financial problems, and my brother was kind of suicidal. And with a guy whose number one value is family, it was not something that I could let go of lightly.
Right.
So I was under crushing pressure from, say, August to December last year. Okay. So much so that I actually developed a tumor, a benign tumor in my arm right here. Wow. Inside. So in December, I started getting pain in my fingers. A month or two later, we followed up with the doctor, and then we did the scan, and they're like, yep, there's a benign tumor in your hand. And it was a pretty big wake-up call for me. For sure. It hit me like a truck. And the thought in the back of my mind was that it still is the fact that this could actually be cancer. I mean, it is benign. It could very easily turn into a malignant tumor. Oh. So I'm like, obviously the way I'm running shit is not working. With all the pressure from business and finances, family, I have to sit back, observe, and figure out what's going on. You ever been there? Disease creates disease, man. I'm so into that world of like stress remediation. Like, absolutely. Have I been there? You know, I've been through a lot of crap, as we talked about on your show. I've never been that stressed out though. Like, so not to a point where it was creating disease. Yeah. Got it. Anyway, so this happened, and I'm like, through the month of December, January, and February, and March, I could not sleep at night because of the pain that I went through. Like, it was like shooting pain into my arm. I had a hard time sleeping for like 4 months. Then I was like, I was looking around. I'm like, God, why is this happening? I talked to a few people, reached out to a few coaches, had a few conversations with different people. Talked to this lady whose name is not coming up right now. She was a psychologist out in California, and she introduced me to tapping. There's a guy on YouTube who is pretty famous for his tapping sessions. So with tapping, you do the tapping on some energy centers in your body, on your face, here, and on your chest here, and then you activate or reactivate some energy centers in your body. Now, I'm butchering the description, but it is some version of that. Now, one of the things that I watched with this guy was about pain and the fact that I'm hurt. Now, one of the things that he mentioned in there is he was saying that the pain that I'm going through is probably serving me in a way or two. And I'm going to embrace the pain and identify what it is doing and what the message is. I really resonated with that message. So I was like, all right, what is this pain doing to me? So I started becoming conscious. Now, I worked with my brother. He was not feeling good. At the end of January, it was a Friday, he left. He flew up back to Iran to spend time with family. So, you know, he gets some family love. So I remember I was thinking, all right, it's Friday. I'm going to take the weekend off and get back to work on Monday. Monday came, I didn't feel like working. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, nothing. Next Monday, I was in no mood to work. Now, years ago, 10 or 12 years ago, I attended a workshop and some spiritual guru was sharing a process on how to deal with being hurt.
Yep.
And here are a 4-step process or 5-step process for your viewers or listeners. Step number 1, here's what I went through and it actually worked. Identify and acknowledge the fact that you're hurt. Give yourself the right to say, you know what, I'm hurt. Because some people try to act like they're not hurt.
Yep.
Number 1, acknowledge that you're hurt. Number 2, identify your avoiding mechanism. Now, avoiding mechanism for different people could be different. Some people do drinking, and that's what we do when we try to avoid pain.
Yep.
Or avoid a problem. Identify what it is, and so it could be drinking, smoking, walking, watching TV, talking, hiking, skiing, whatever that it is you do when you face pain or failure. Step number 3, avoid the avoiding mechanism. That means whatever it is that you usually do to avoid pain, don't do it. Step number 4, stay in pain and let it take its course until it's done. And embrace the pain, right? So I remember that I'm like, all right, you know what? I'm hurt emotionally and physically. I'm going to give myself time to heal. So I decided I basically shut down the business. I didn't shut it down. I managed the bare minimum, but I was like, I'm going to give myself time to heal. Otherwise, things are not going to change. So I sat back for about a month and a half, 2 months. Sorry, you asked me a simple question. I'm just going on and on, but that's the story.
This is what we want, dude.
And so I took about a 2-month off, just sitting back, taking my sweet time to heal. Because I'm like, if I keep going, I'm just going to keep getting the same results, which are not the results that I'm looking for. So I sat back, I'm like sleeping in until like 2 or 3 in the afternoon. I would stay up all night till 7 or 8 in the morning. Whatever my body and my brain desired, I let it do. I did not interfere. Now, in the middle of this whole thing, COVID came. And they're like, shut down, nobody goes nowhere, no business, stay home quarantine. I'm like, yes, I love it. Because I'm doing this anyway. Yeah. So it just gave me another reason to keep doing it. And in our industry, since the beginning of COVID, a lot of activities started. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, I got to catch up on this, and I got to jump on jump on this trend and do it. Then the other part is like, no. We're going to sit back and watch. And so I sat back and watched for about another month. And then the last step was let the pain take its course until it's done. I remember it was a Thursday afternoon. I got a referral and I signed up a new client, and we're talking about their problems, and they had a lot of marketing problems. I'm like, and in the back of my mind, in those 3 months, I was thinking of running Simple Marketing Formula to, instead of a 6 weeks, once a week format, turn it into 6 days, which is what it is right now. I'm like, I'm going to run this workshop next week and I want you to be there. Can you be there? She's like, yeah, I'll be there. And so Thursday afternoon, I decided to run the workshop. And by Monday, I had 20 people in the class. Now, in those 3 months that I took off, it gave me a chance to sit back and observe, get to know myself better, understand my business, what I've been doing right and wrong. And the Simple Marketing Formula that I've been running, I've been on this mission for a while, but since this year, it has become my mission to help people simplify everything, because it just sucks to be all over the place and not see results.
Yep.
And so we have put everything together in the past 6 months. We have developed the most comprehensive planning and implementation program. And I've come up with quite a few things in the past 6 months, like a brand new show and a great program. What else have I come up with? A book, a whole bunch of stuff that if I didn't take those 2 or 3 months off to heal, there was no way on earth I would have come up with everything that we have right now. So that's my story.
No, it's a beautiful story, and it's a powerful one. And it's the power of the counterculture in a sense, because right now you hear all the hustle, 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 grind, 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 work your face off, hope that you make it. But there's actually some studies being done right now that are really interesting that could be somewhat brain damaging and not good for yourself. And whether it's you need a soul vacation, you need a physical vacation, you need something, you have to pay attention to your body. And once your body is rebelling for whatever reason, you're treating it badly through stress, through diet, through lack of movement, through lack of happiness, which is a real thing. It's going to let you know. Thank God that you decided to, put all that on the back burner for a little bit and get healthy again. Because you can't serve anyone if you're not alive. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
absolutely.
You can't help your family. You can't help your friends, your clients. You're of no use. So I love that. I love the fact that you pivoted and you listened to something that could have potentially saved your life. So
Absolutely.
a couple nuggets you just weaved through really quickly that I wanted to kind of touch on was you mentioned that you started your show and you mentioned a book, which I don't know if I remember us talking about the book, but if you want to take either one and run with it, let's hear about both of them.
So the show is Daily Confidence for Entrepreneurs, which has been a favorite topic of mine because as an immigrant here in Canada, I had to deal with a lot of stuff, knowing the language, learning the culture, doing business, and over the years. So that's been a topic that I've been working on for the past 20 years as an immigrant. So I put all my knowledge and stuff into that show, and I share information and nuggets about confidence that I've developed a list. I called it Confidence 52, which is 52 things that people could do to boost their confidence on a daily basis. And those are like almost instant results.
Beautiful. Can you give an example of 2 or 3 of them real quick?
One of them is reviewing your goals. Nothing gives you confidence like knowing exactly what you want in life. Another one is cleaning up your office, cleaning up the desk that you're working on, because if it's messy, it messes with your confidence. And once you organize it, once you clean it up and get rid of all the junk, it opens up because your environment is a result of your mindset.
I agree.
Right.
Yep.
So if you make that switch to clean up your environment and it helps back in switching your mindset back into a confident mode, that's an easy, quick one. Another one is reviewing your bucket list. And those are a list of things that you want to do in life. Very quick. Like in the past 20 years, every single time that I was not feeling good, reviewing my bucket list and my goals instantly gave me the confidence saying what's happening right now is temporary, the failure or whatever that is happening. And these goals are what I'm going for. This is probably part of the process. So those 3 things are out of 52 that you could go get. And if they want to get it, they could go to dailyconfidence.show/resources. The site again is dailyconfidence.show/resources, and they could download the confidence checklist there.
Beautiful. I love it. The value that you're adding up front and giving people something tangible and practical, utilitarian to go ahead and practice.
Absolutely.
What have you learned? What are you, about 16, 17 episodes into your show now?
Yeah.
What have you learned so far in the way of people skills, business, relationships, some of your bigger takeaways since starting the show until now?
Consistency is one of the things that I'm working on because we run it in a weekly. I know people always give me a hard time about this. They say it's a daily show that runs on a weekly basis.
I get it. Yeah, it's pretty funny, tongue in cheek.
So the philosophy behind the name is Daily Confidence. That's where we share tips and advice that you could use on a daily basis when it comes to running your business.
Yep.
And so consistency is one of them. Working with other people to explore and their expertise and giving them stage to share their message has been amazing. This starting a show has opened up a lot of avenues for me, getting to know amazing people like yourself, which I think if I didn't have this show, we wouldn't be here today.
Well, thank you for saying that, but our stars crossed and we're here together now. So thank you.
Yeah. And so it's been an amazing learning curve. I'm still learning in the podcast and show business, but those are a few things that I've learned over the past few months.
Beautiful, man. And it's incredible what the journey's done for me. I would never even imagine the last 2 years, the roads I've been able to travel, but a lot of it's been because of the podcast and the relationships that I've built through the podcast. It's all about relationships for me. And growing up in Boston, I always had a guy for everything, good and bad, illegal and legal. And like when I left Boston and moved to Georgia, one of my things I was kind of concerned about was I didn't have a guy for everything anymore, a girl for everything. But once you build that habit of connecting and networking relationships, that goes with you. It's like a trade. If you become a bricklayer, an electrician, or a plumber, you can take that anywhere around the world. And so one of my tools of my trade is connecting with people. And so I've found out pretty quickly, I even have a stronger network now than I did, and more meaningful than I even then. So now you talked about a book. Is it complete?
Still working on it. The book is called Simple Marketing Formula.
Beautiful.
Which is the course, and we put our experience in that book, and then we're going to be releasing it here in the next little while. So can I share another tip here with your audience?
100%. That's why you're here.
So since the beginning of COVID, something that I've been saying consistently is the following. This amount of pressure will either turn you into ashes or it will turn you into a diamond. The decision is yours.
Yep.
So I started embracing the pressure that came in through COVID, staying home, don't go nowhere. And I love the fact that it put a pause everywhere in the world, forced people to stay home and think. And now some people came out of it maybe worse than they were. Some people came out of it better.
Yep.
But I am thankful for what's happening in the world. Obviously not for the fact that some people are, dying and going away and getting sick, but I think this was a necessary evil, for lack of a better term, for the entire world to get a pause and be like, hey, become conscious of what you're doing. Become conscious of what's happening around you. And I think this pressure, if we learn to embrace it, is a lot more useful and helpful than just, sitting back and bitching and whining about it.
So it's interesting that you bring that up, because I'm really big into this consciousness and awareness and collective consciousness, the human collective consciousness kind of world. And whether it's source, God, whether it's Mother Earth, whether it's karma, any of that stuff, all this stuff is happening for a reason. And it's to teach us, and it's to teach us to become better. And like you said, be in tune and be in accord with what matters, and what we put out into the world, we kind of get back in a sense through the karmic effect. But, whether it's COVID, whether it's, the civil rights issues that people are dealing with, whether it's crazy stuff like Jeffrey Epstein and all that he was doing and now this huge sore has been opened to show like how bad people are that have power and have money and, all these things. Whether this is really weird, but the Pentagon declassified UFOs essentially a couple of weeks ago. So it's like, there's all sorts of crazy stuff happening right now, but I'm of the same mindset of you, is like, it's a good thing, even though it's a tough thing. Getting beat up and getting punched in the face, unless you're into that stuff, never really feels great, but it teaches you a lot very quickly. And as a human race, we're getting punched in the face, kicked in the dick. Like, we're getting a lot of stuff that like we're not used to. But it's gonna, in my mind, the things that are beautiful that'll come from this are, if you think about like artists and the time they've had to work on their craft and like lock themselves in a basement, work on music, work on art, there's gonna be a lot of beautiful things that come from this. From businesses that didn't trust their people before, that were forced to have them work from home, that learned that you can trust us, like we're gonna do the right thing and we're gonna show up well. Well, now businesses can get leaner and meaner and care for their people more, right? There's going to be more attention focused on fixing things. Like I said, like in the civil rights movement, there's a lot of work that needs to be done there. There's a lot of work that needs to be done for people individually. So I 100% agree that this is going to be more of a spiritual movement for most of the world. And we're in the middle of it for sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, in the past 6 months, I've came up with a program, came up with a show. Our conversion rate, believe it or not, on our pages went from 2% to 82%.
That's insane.
That's freaking insane.
It doesn't happen. Yeah.
And if I didn't get that pause, if I didn't have this much pressure on me, this wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
So, and it all came from that, the notion and mindset of embracing the pain.
Yep.
And this little piece here, right, that took my sleep away for 4 months, actually is responsible for all of this. So I totally believe that this was my subconscious coming up with this, saying, it doesn't seem like you need to go the way you want to go. So I'm going to throw a little something in there to take your sleep away for 4 months so that you become aware of, hopefully you understand that and you become aware of your surrounding and your activities and your business, so that I can come up with something better. Because I could have sat around and bitch and whine about this thing, saying, oh my God, I can't believe I'm dealing with this. Why me, God? Why? You know, that mindset.
And you know what? We talked about this on your show. Pain is one of the best teachers. And
Absolutely.
you know, in bodybuilding, it's cliche, but no pain, no gain. But it's true. If you don't break down and tear down muscles when working on your muscles, they won't grow. You have to force them to grow, and you have to force yourself to grow. And a lot of times your body will tell you when it's time to do something differently and to look at, and it's just a matter, we talked about this on your show. It's like having that intuition and learning how to trust your gut, learning how to trust your, you know, the intelligence that's built within inside you. There's amazing, we all have like this divine masculine, divine feminine within us. And there's a knowing and a knowledge in there that if you can get attuned with that and get into accord with that, you can live an amazing life. And you can live life not just amazingly, but the way that it was designed in your purpose, and you can follow that and be in attune with all of that. So absolutely. So now that you're, what is it, almost September, and you know, you've gone through a hell of a year with the rest of us. What's the rest of 2020 looking like for you, except for maybe get it over with? And then what's the future hold?
So we're working on growing and scaling our business into 7 figures in the next 12 months. Putting all the systems and processes in place. I am constantly working on improving and updating my mindset, tapping more into the people and the knowledge and expertise around me. Like in the past few months, 6 to 8 months, I have reached out to a lot more of my friends, more so than I'm usually doing, to ask for help and seek for expertise. So I'm going to continue doing that, doing a lot more masterminds, connecting with amazing people like yourself. Our workshop is running on a monthly basis, so we're working on optimizing basically all of our processes and the business as a whole. So that's me. That's what I'm focused on for the next little while.
Beautiful, man. And we touched on this, but I want to get into it a little bit because I think it's important. Is like the part of the self-care for you and how you you know, recenter yourself and kind of get to what's important in your mind. Is you like to get out into nature, you do some skiing. Talk a little bit about what that looks like for you. Any kind of hikes you've been on that you've come away with some downloads, some information that maybe you were able to integrate back into your life, like some things like that.
So thanks for mentioning that. I'm a huge nature guy. That's me, where I like to spend time. And Banff National Park, and in our backyard, we got the Rockies here, and it's pretty beautiful, which is like a half an hour away. Usually 2 or 3 times a week now in the summer, around 4 or 5 o'clock when I feel like getting out because I've had a long day or a long week, I go upstairs and tell my wife, let's pick up our food and go out of town, basically, which is only half an hour away. And then so we sit in the nature and embrace the nature. I love the energy of the nature. And I've been practicing the Wim Hof method.
Beautiful.
So every time I get out near a river or a lake, I dip in there, and it changes my energy level and the frequency in my body like instantly, and it becomes natural. I love it. And every time. So here's the deal. Yesterday when we went out, it was cloudy and it's windy and it was kind of cold. And I'm like, oh God, I shouldn't do this. It's cold. And then in my mind, I'm going, dude, people go dip into ice at like -20.
Yep.
It's +20 right now. Don't be a pussy.
That internal dialogue. It's that self-sabotage, you know?
Yeah. So I kind of like, all right, cool, I'll do it. So before we had food, I just took my clothes off, dipped into a river, and it was amazing.
Oh, I love it.
And I can't wait to I've never done it in winter, like into ice, but I can't wait to do it, to push past my fears.
I was thinking about when I should come visit you because I am going to come visit you. So maybe it should be like when it's cold and we could do some ice dips for sure.
Let's do it.
I'm down.
And then we go skiing together.
Let's do it. Yeah.
I
So
promise you to teach you some skiing. So
teach me
we'll
some
do that.
skiing, and I promise that I will learn.
Yeah. And so back to skiing, I do a lot of hiking, spending time in the mountains, and skiing is another way that I connect to nature and to myself. And so because it's a sport, I mean, all sports, there's like it's a never ending curve of learning. And skiing is like that, and it's very variable when you ski. The snow is variable, the terrain is variable, all sorts of stuff, temperature and whatnot. And so I love it when I ski in rhythm. And, you know, it kind of, it's got a musical component into it as well. Like when you go 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000, right? Or you do, you know, how you embrace that rhythm in there. And when my mindset is off, I can't ski in rhythm. And so I have to stay focused and, you know, or start counting my rhythm or my 1,000, 2 1,000 to get back into rhythm. And that's when I feel better. And so, and yeah, for me, skiing is my thing and I can't get enough of it. It's like,
I love that you bring up the Wim Hof and the ice therapy, the cold therapy. Do you do the actual breathing too, like the 30, 40 breaths, and you can change like your physical state within like 3 or 4 rounds? Have you tried this before?
I have tried it. I haven't done it for like a month or two, but I have tried it and it's pretty cool.
It's incredible. So tell the listeners and the viewers kind of what happens to your body physically and emotionally, like once you do, you know, 3 or 4 rounds of Wim Hof breathing.
So when I do the first round, I could probably hold my breath for like 45 seconds to a minute. And every round that you do it, because you oxygenate your blood through his method, you tend to hold your breath longer. So I think my record is about 3 minutes. And I was like, there's no way I could hold my breath for 3 minutes. And so you feel, and it gives me this high as if I'm on something, but it's like a natural high. Yeah, I'm not on any crack or cocaine or anything. and it makes me happy because of the oxygen levels and a whole bunch of other things that you probably know better than I do chemically, and I love it. Love it.
So for me, my fingers and feet will start tingling and kind of like getting a little bit numb, but it's a good thing. It's not like anything bad's going to happen to you. And then a lot of times I get like emotional, and like sometimes I'll happy cry, like tears will come out, like I'm super happy, but it's changing your physiological state with just breathing. And it's incredible what it can do. And like from holding your breath longer, and then also doing that, if you choose to do that before a stressful situation, you can handle the stressful situation much better. Like whether if you went for a hard run or whether you jumped into something cold, like it actually it's a good preparation for these things. So and there's a lot of data, at least from him, where he strapped himself up to, monitors in a supervised, hospital, and they injected him with some sort of disease or flu virus or whatever it was, and his body was able to fight it off because of like his control of his mind and his body. It sounds like hocus pocus, but it's absolutely real. And it's supposed to stave off inflammation, which leads to disease, and you're able to, control your health and wellness with it. And I got into it pretty good last year from the ice. I've been doing cold showers every day for like the last 2 years, pretty much. I did the ice stuff a couple times in my pool and in like a big thing. And then the breathing stuff is making time for that. But if you do 3 or 4 rounds of 30 deep breaths in and out, and you kind of do it naturally, but you do a lot of it, and then you hold that breath at the end, it's incredible how your body can change. And just from breathing.
Absolutely. So, and he doesn't have an app that you could download where he kind of, it's a guided meditation for his breathing method. He will show you when to breathe in and out.
Yep.
If whoever is watching, and if it's the first time that they are trying this, the app is a good place to start. Two things that I did to deal with my tumor and my state of mind. One was this Wim Hof method, and the other one was fasting. Now, the Wim Hof method, what I absolutely loved about it when he mentioned it are 2 things. Number one, when you want to go into cold water, you have to face your fears.
Yep.
And so, because there's that fear of, oh, it's cold, or there's that discomfort, or what if I get cold or catch a cold, and, all that fearful stuff. So you have to face the fear and push past the fear.
Yep.
Second thing that I loved about it is the fact that once you're in cold water, you have to stay focused on your breathing or on the cold. Your mind cannot be anywhere else because the body is in survival mode.
Yeah.
And when I heard those things, I'm like, oh, dude, you're speaking my language. I have to try this thing. So in those 3 months that I took off, I forced myself a lot of mornings to take the cold shower at home.
Yep.
Right. And it was getting past that fear, which strengthened my mindset and the whole thing, and reducing inflammation, which the cold water helps reduce the inflammation in your body.
Right.
Now, another thing that is real killer for inflammation is fasting.
Oh my God. We didn't talk about that. I fast every day.
I almost fast every day too.
I do.
And so I did I've done about 1.5 years studies and research on fasting.
Yep.
There was this documentary on YouTube called Science of Fasting. When I watched that thing, I was like, oh my God. Because what's his name? Napoleon Hill touched on fasting in his book, Think and Grow Rich.
Yep.
And he said it has something to do with growth and reaching your goals. But I was like, oh my God, this guy's getting religious on me. I'm not going to listen to that. But as soon as I watched the scientific research on that documentary, I was like, holy shit, I should probably look into this. Anyway, so through my research, I realized that fasting is one of the top ways to deal with cancer and inflammation. So when you fast, basically your body, you're starving your cancer cells from food, and that way you starve the cancer cells to death, and it gets rid of inflammation in your body and a million other things that happen in your body when you fast.
Incredible.
It is beyond amazing. We probably don't have time to get into it right now, but this Wim Hof method and fasting on a weekly and daily basis. So here's one more point. The number one way to stay young, to my understanding and knowledge and research, is fasting. Number one way.
I have another one too. But yeah, so I fast no less than 16/8 every day. So 16 hours off, 8 hours on. But over the last 2 years since I've started, I've gotten into 24 and then what's called OMAD, 1 meal a day. I've done that a couple times.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how much energy I have when I start fasting past 16 hours. I get more energy. I have more energy. So people think, oh, I don't have the calories and whatever. No, you actually will get more energy. And I'm the guy that doesn't drink coffee. I take cold showers. I do my intermittent fasting, like all that stuff. And I have all this boundless energy for the most part. But there was that one point I wanted to talk about too as well. Okay, so you talk about not growing old, and there's a way to grow old well. And so there's these blue zones that are in the world, and blue zones are places like Okinawa and some other places where the average age is well over 90, but they're not just well over 90, they're well over 90 like they're vibrant. And so what they did with these studies on figuring out how is this even possible in all these blue zones, because they're all different parts of the world and they're different types of cultures. And so they thought it might have been environment. They thought it might have been diet. And some of those things, genetics, they play a factor, but what they really found, what keeps you young and alive forever is playing in community and things like creative. So if you're always like a big kid at heart and you're not afraid to get on the ground and play with your kids or play with your friends. I mean, even as an almost 40-year-old guy, I'm 38. I still play with my friends. Like we get out and we do fun stuff, and like you have to be a young kid at heart kind of thing. So there's the playing. Absolutely. The community, people die when they're lonely. So if you have a community of people, like-minded people, your tribe, like people that you want to do life with, you'll live longer. And then the creative side, it talks to your inner, like your inner child and like working on creativity from music to art to dance to sports, whatever it is. Those three things coupled with everything we've talked about, from intermittent fasting to Wim Hof to all these things, you can't control the future, but you can really do a good job of trying with those things.
Absolutely. One thing that I want to mention that I think is essential, when I dealt with the tumor, I noticed when I was fasting, I didn't have pain in my hand. And when I ate, as soon as I ate, the sugar levels went up and it started shooting pain into my arms, which didn't let me sleep. So I heard about these people that are going on this 40 or 50-day fast to kill cancer. Yeah. And I'm like, I got to give this a try, because I can't have this tumor grow in my body and kill me, because I've got 2 kids and a family and a bunch of other people that I want to serve and support. So I did 2 3-day water fasts back to back.
Beautiful.
3 days only water. And there was a lot of fear to deal with. Like, holy shit, what if I die? And that's another thing that I love about fasting, and especially this extended long fasting that you do. It's dealing with fear, because the body, the conscious or subconscious starts coming up with all sorts of nonsense saying, oh, we're going to die, we should eat, and blah, 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 blah. You're like, shut the fuck up. We need to just, keep moving forward. And so the 2 3-day water fasts that I did back. So I fasted for 3 days, then I broke my fast, then I did another 3 days. It got rid of the pain in my tumor. So I went back, I was talking to a neurosurgeon, and he was getting me ready to do a surgery and operation to take this thing out. I'm like, doctor, I'm going to fast this out. He's like, that's not a possibility scientifically, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I'm going to try. So I fasted, the pain has gone about 99.5%. There's that little bit that comes back once in a while, but it got rid of it. And the doctor to this day doesn't want to believe or accept the fact that the fasting helped it. He's like, well, we're not sure. I'm like, buddy, I did the fasting. I'm sure. I'm the guy that actually did it. And so
literally went away as soon as I did it. Yeah.
Yeah. So the pain hasn't come back. I've been sleeping well. So if you have anything like that going on, fasting and this Wim Hof method to reduce inflammation and getting rid of all this bad cells and stuff like that in your body, it really works.
We'll leave them with this protocol. So Wim Hof as often as you can, fast every day, get 15 minutes of direct sunlight while standing on the ground with bare feet so you can ground yourself and reduce stress. You'll be as healthy as an ox. So strong as an ox. Mostafa Hosseini, amazing, mighty, and powerful as usual. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, sir.
Make sure
Thanks for having me.
Be sure to connect with this man. He's doing great things. He's a great human being. That's the most important thing. I'm Jesse Tedisco. Be sure to catch us on next week's episode of The Jesse T Show.